Hi, my name is Jade Lobo, and I'm one of the peer educators with the Counseling Center. This year.
Hi, I'm Macy. I'm the other peer educator this year, and tonight's Wellness Wednesday is going to be on sleep.
Yeah, so first, just to kind of introduce it, all of us are college students and or faculty and staff, but as college students, we don't really get enough sleep. We seem to have a lot of just assignments to do, and we all have different commitments around campus or off campus. So being this time in our life, we don't get enough sleep, and as well as it's really important to also include that different social interactions that we feel like we have to keep up. So just we thought that sleep is something that's really important to everyone, but especially as college students, it's something we need to prioritize more. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what we think sleep, how some tips on how to get better sleep, as well as just some of the sleep experience that we've had.
Yeah, I think as college students, we talk about sleep a lot, and not in the sense of oh, I'm getting really good sleep or any of that. It's more like I slept 4 hours last night, doing this assignment. And I was just thinking, before we started this, that there's, for some reason, it's glorified, when people don't get enough sleep in college, because it's oh, you're working so hard, you're going, you must be doing really well in school, when in actuality it's probably you should be getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and if you're not, then that's maybe a problem. And I'm not sure why that it's interesting or cool to stay up all night or have all these things, that we see it a lot in movies or TV, people pulling all-nighters, or being at the library at 3 a.m. And that's just not good for your brain. It's not good for your mental health. And I don't know why it's a thing, but I definitely have done it as well. But I think that I would say that I do stay up fairly frequently, and it is because I am very busy during the day, and so the only time that I do get to either rest and relax, or see my friends, or do the things outside that's on my free time, would only be in the evening. And so if there's any chance that I were to procrastinate at all, which happens a lot or frequently, then I feel like the time that I go to bed just gets pushed farther and further back. And on sometimes that's fine and that's okay. But I think if it's a habit, that's when I notice that my sleep and my mood and everything else after that goes down a lot. There was one occasion where last semester I was writing my senior thesis, and it's this huge paper, and I spent so long on it and thought I was doing really, really well, and then I got my grade back and it was terrible. And so then we had the second draft due in 2 weeks, and I just would not write it for fear of doing worse, or not improving as much as I wanted to. And so I would do literally anything else to just not do this paper. And so because of that, I would stay up really late, and then because of that, then my papers would be bad. So for me, I know that procrastination is a direct line to my sleep, which is a direct line to my mental health. So just to start us off.
Yeah, I really like what you said at the beginning about, I just think it's so true how much we take joy, and it's almost like a competition, and oh, I'm so busy, and that makes me that's the way to live your life, is in your busyness, and making sure if you're not doing it's really interesting if you see somebody and you're oh, you have going on today, and they're oh, not much, and then you're wow, it's just in our society to be wow, they're obviously doing something wrong. Whereas I feel that's totally just the wrong approach to it, as we need to be wow, I'm so happy that you get this day of rest, or you get this time to be a little more chill today, because I think we just live in the society that's go, 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 and that's what we're trained. I think even thinking about like life growing up, whereas like most of us were like involved in like theater or sports or like something with the school. Most kids are just doing something and we're just taught to be like go go go. So and then especially being in college, like that's even more of a thing that's like happening just with everything that's going on. And so like if you're not in meetings all day, if you're not doing this, like if you're not taking a certain amount of units, like it's something that's kind of looked down upon, which is so like not cool, because like as college students on average we're supposed to be getting like we're supposed to be getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep, but like realistically, like most of the people, like I'm guessing if you took a survey, it'd be rare that people even get like 6 hours a night. I think it's also really interesting, like just like the times when I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna go to bed, and it's like 10:30 or 11. People are like, whoa, like you're going to bed early, and I'm like, no, like this is probably like a good like if you have to be up at like 7 or 8, like that's probably a good amount of time. But for me, I was thinking as you were telling your story that like I think last week or 2 weeks ago, I was really busy with campaigning just for SGA, and like just like as well as like doing some of my other SGA work because I'm on student government. So it's just like having to like think about all of the time, like all the time where I was like just constantly like going. And so it was like even the times when I wasn't like fully focused on that, like I just felt like there was always something like where it was like, okay, I can have like this amount of like 1 hour to like set aside for like not doing anything, but I found myself just constantly like going. And so like as well as having like that was midterms week, so it was just like a lot to do, like with just everything, like studying and then doing midterms and then trying to like still like do things around campus, and like there was a lot going on with school that week, so it was just like a lot. And I found myself just not sleeping, which made it very difficult because then I was just tired throughout the day, which just is just all downhill because then I just feel not productive. And so yeah, that's just a time for me that was specifically very tiring and draining, and I definitely did not get much sleep.
I think another thing that like um worsens my sleep or like lets me not sleep well is like the blue light from my phone. And um like you just said, like, oh, I'm gonna go to bed at like 10:30 or whatever, and then like I'll scroll on my phone, and if I don't have like light mode on or night mode on or like blue light glasses, like it really affects how much I stay up, and then like my eyes hurt, and then I'm like moody and blah 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 blah. So I feel like, I don't know, even I should be better at doing this, but like putting my phone down before like I go to bed instead of like going to bed like with my phone. Or recently I've been like trying to do like audiobooks. And so like, I don't know, maybe this is really cheesy, but I'll like fall asleep like listening to those, or I'll like set a timer for those so that like if I'm wanting to like do something but like still kind of get in the routine of like going to bed, then like that has obviously like no light to it, which like doesn't affect my brain. So that's been really helpful. But I think like definitely lack of sleep can take a toll on your mental health, and it can cause like a really big reduction in obviously like your performance in school and then your memory. And then I don't know, that's just obviously not a good thing. But in the summer, this past summer, I took a bio course, and it was like an 8-week course, and it was like 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then I would like work nights. And so even though I was done at like 12, which isn't late or anything, if I was working like a super late shift and then like was on my phone or was like trying to do something with my friends or like whatever, then like waking up at 7 a.m. was really hard, and I was like losing that amount of like 8 to 9 hours. Um, and I remember like we were in midterms or we were doing whatever like labs and things, and so like most courses go, the beginning is like much easier than the end, but I found that I was like not retaining like things that were we learned about in the beginning, or like just like felt like I was behind all the time, and I feel like that is directly correlated to like my lack of sleep. So I feel like very strongly that like a lack of sleep can affect like your memory and your mental health and all of that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's really important to like focus on the fact that like our mental health can be like very heavily affected by lack of sleep, whether that like means like feeling like, I don't know, I think a lot of times like um it can be easy to feel stressed throughout the day because you're tired. And I think also a big thing is like getting, it affects your emotions a lot. So like I know that when I'm tired I definitely get cranky. So like if I'm around people, like it's just like not good overall, and then it just makes me feel super low energy, which is makes it so much harder. So yeah, that's definitely a lot. I think it's also definitely hard because usually, not all the time, because I think, with procrastination and different things that go on with in a college student's life, like we're up late. But I think one of the things that we do is like we stay up late doing things related to school, and then like the next day in school, like it can make us like not be super engaged, and like it can like really affect us. So like for me, I'll notice myself like getting like lack of sleep by like doing different assignments or like doing different like things for school or work. And then the next day in class or like at work, I'll find myself like just like not being able to be fully engaged or like focused, which just kind of sucks because it's like, that's what you're thinking about is like how it can relate. So I think that's always hard for me because trying to like justify like, oh, like if I know like if I'm gonna stay up late doing this assignment, like then like maybe it will make it harder for me to get up in the morning or like, kind of thing. So I think that's definitely hard. So trying to balance that can be really difficult. And I think like it's really hard because I think just it's so easy for all of us to procrastinate. And so it's like, and it's so easy for us to want to just prioritize different things, whereas really, and sleep usually is something that gets put under the rug. So just making sure that like we're able to be like, okay, like maybe I actually shouldn't procrastinate this and I need to make sure that I'm getting this amount of sleep. And so yeah.
Yeah, I think something else that I've really noticed, especially since being in college, is that I have like super big FOMO. And so whenever I see my friends doing something and I like initially will say like no for whatever reason, I always, not always, because that sounds bad, but a lot of times I like regret saying no because like obviously I want to be with them. I want to do that. I don't want to miss out on that. And a lot of times like because we have classes and work all day, the only times to really do anything is like super late at night. And so I feel like the cycle, like it just continues. Like if then you have to get up in the morning, then blah blah blah, you're tired, whatever. Um, yeah, I don't know. It just is a weird cycle.
Yes, I feel like I can definitely relate to FOMO. I think I've definitely gotten better at it just like as I've gone throughout college, just being able to be like, okay, like I really cannot do everything like with my friends, but it doesn't make it any easier. So I think that's like a great point. And so being able to kind of say no is very important. It's interesting how like you had said earlier that lack of sleep can cause like memory loss in certain ways, because I like it's really funny, I have an awful memory just like in general. So like then I notice when I get a lack of sleep or when I don't get a lot of sleep, it just makes it 10 times worse. And like I will be like being able to focus just doesn't happen. And so like then like even trying to like understand like what somebody's talking to me, like I have to be very intentional with like making sure like, okay, this person is talking to me and I'm going to be like right there with them. And like, which makes it so hard in a classroom setting, when you're taking notes and trying to pay attention and like, all of the things that go on in a classroom setting. And then, people shuffling around, like it's just hard in general. So like just being able to like focus and like really hone in is really important. Um, and I think also just like when I have that low energy, like just from not sleeping, like I just want to like nap. And like that's the thing that my mind is focused on. And I'm like, oh, like I'm so tired. And I think it's really easy for us when we're tired is like that's what we're focused on. So it's like if we like were to get a good night's sleep, like maybe like you think about like, oh, I'm glad I got a good night's sleep, and then you kind of move on with your day. Whereas like instead of like when you don't get a like good night's sleep, then you're like, oh my gosh, woe is me kind of thing. And it's like really easy just to focus on that and be like, wow, like I only slept like 3 hours last night and like this sucks, and like, just doesn't make it great.
Yeah, I think kind of going in for like or going into tips or like ways to get better sleep. I think something that's like going to be really helpful for me is like knowing to like protect my space and to protect my energy and my like environment. And I think like even though I have FOMO, I feel like the older that I get and the more that I like prioritize what I want to do, that also comes with like prioritizing like my energy, my time, who I want to spend time with, like what friendships are like life giving to me, what are draining. And I think all of those kind of relate to like, I don't want to say they all revolve around sleep, but there are people or there are things that I am like growing more like okay to say no to because I do like the way that I feel in the morning, or I do like being able to like wake up a lot earlier and feel well rested and things like that. So I feel like that just comes with time and just find it kind of figuring out your balance. But I think some other things are, especially early on, like freshman year and sophomore year, I used to think that I could like go to like coffee shops with people and do homework and things like that. And now I feel like whenever I go to a coffee shop with a friend, it's like, oh, I'm not actually going to do homework and I know that, but I'm going to tell myself that I'm going to going to do it even though like nothing gets done. So I think like a change of scenery is good, yes, but I think like for me personally, I have to do that alone. Otherwise, like I'm gonna get distracted. I'm not gonna do it. And then I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. And then it's like 11 p.m. and I like want to go to bed, but I can't. So I think again, like prioritizing like my time. And if I want to go do that thing, then I have to like go do it alone. I have to go to the library alone just so that I can focus. But then I think again, like making sure that like I don't look at my phone like if I'm going to bed soon, or like turn it off or turn it on like night mode or whatever, or like I feel like sleeping with the blinds is kind of helpful so that like you wake up naturally instead of having an alarm too. Um yeah. What about you? What do you do?
Yeah, no, I really like everything that you said. I think the coffee shop one is definitely something I can relate to, where like being with friends, it does make it a lot harder. Um, but for me, something that's really important, kind of going along with that, is like making sure that the environment I'm in is really good. Like, and that like for me means like the specific like sleep environment that I'm in. So like me, like it's really difficult for me to sleep if my bed is not like fully made, and like if I'm sleeping in like a messy bed, it makes it so much harder to like fully get good sleep. It's also for me, so I don't sleep when it's like completely silent. Like that is a no-no for me. So like I think for some people, like either having a noise machine, I have a fan going. So like usually I'll have that, or we have an air purifier as well. And that's just really helpful for me because that helps me just like, I don't know. So, but some people need complete silence. So making sure that you have that if that's what you need is always good. I also know like putting like peppermint or lavender on my pillow can be really helpful, or we have a diffuser in here which we sometimes use, which is also just like really helpful just to make sure that it's a nice environment. um, I also haven't done this in a while, but I used to use the Calm app. They have like sleep like meditations or whatever on there, and that was really helpful for me. I've yeah, just like noticed that like, some like voices work better than me than others and like whatever, but I think just having someone to be like, kind of like, oh, like pay attention. They talk about just like relaxing and making sure like you're fully relaxed, and like just having that person like talk and like focus on your breathing, and like they tell you, oh, imagine yourself here. And like for me that was just really helpful for that time that I was using that. And it really helped me just to like get good sleep. um and I think also like just doing some yoga is always helpful for me, um as well as like music being something that's really important in my life. So like having like an instrumental, I have this instrumental piano playlist that I always go to. So yeah, that's always really calming for me.
I think that's all we have time for. So thank you everybody for listening to our topic on sleep.